Sometimes I feel guilty that I'm saying good morning here on the West Coast, and it's like 11 on the East Coast, and everyone's already going to Sweet Green and grabbing their lunches somewhere in Flatiron, Midtown. So much has been done already on a Monday. We're just dipping our feet in. Easy, cool with Darius Butler. He'll break down the Heat Celtics, and he'll tell us, and this is something that came from him, he wants to tell you which wide receiver group is the best in the NFL going into 2023, at least on this Monday, May 15th. Plus, from the CBS comedy Ghost, Asher Grodman is here. Let's go. Let's bring in Matthew Hamilton. This is our show. It's called Up and Adams. We had such an epic couple of weeks. It was nice to have a weekend at home, wasn't it?
It was, especially for Mother's Day. Had to undo a lot of damage on Mother's Day.
Talk to me about that. I accidentally made fun of you for a shirt that you had, and your mother bought it for you, which I made fun of your mom buying you a shirt at the age of 36. And then how did that go? She mad at me. Is there beef?
Not mad at you now, just self-conscious about any item of clothing that she's going to buy me going forward. So,
but she knows our relationship. It's just pew, 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 back and forth. It's what it is. Whatever.
Yeah, she does.
We got this little bit of news. We love just any little morsel of anything, right? So we're going to latch onto this and chew it around for a second. What do you make of this Matt Ryan announcement? He's saying it's not a retirement post, by the way, turning 38 this week, but he's joining the CBS as a studio and in-game analyst. He clarifies further, and then there's some talk about him being on that other pregame show, not the Nate Burleson one, because that was my first thought, Hamilton. I was like, oh, is he wiggling his way onto that set? Because if so, he's literally inheriting the best person to work with in sports, and that's Nate Burleson.
That is true, and maybe it's a trial to see if maybe eventually he does make that move. But or we could see him on Ghost with Asher Grodman. Who knows?
We're excited to have Asher on the show. Big Jags fan.
Yes, big Jags guy. So I'm sure he might have some thoughts on Matt Ryan from last year too. But yeah, I mean, he does clarify that it's not a retirement post, but obviously he is still a free agent. You'd have to think wherever he goes, it's going to be as a backup quarterback, right? Because there aren't any glaring starting jobs open. So you wonder if he's just kind of dipping his toe in. He doesn't want to close the door completely, but you'd have to think he's reaching that point in his career, right?
It's true, and I will say, I mean, maybe he's leaving that little sliver of hope to reunite with the Shanahan thing, right? With the uncertainty at the quarterback position in the Bay Area and how ready that team is, he can't say he's done, right? There's a chance. There's always a chance they'll get reeled in there.
There is always a chance, and I guess if you still feel like you have something left, you don't want to shut that door completely. But obviously, signing that deal, it's a major step in that direction. And I don't want to retire him when he's not retiring himself, but you got to think it's probably coming this offseason.
You sent me his numbers, and this is the whole point of this whole little conversation here, is that we're going to take a second to point something out, okay? And you can talk about where he'll be and whatever. He's currently 5th all-time in completions, 7th in yards, 9th in touchdowns. He's had himself a sensational career. So we, of course, 2016 MVP. I'm sitting next to Peter Schrager and his parents when he's getting that award, but he wasn't at NFL honors because he was preparing to play in the Super Bowl, a historical collapse Super Bowl that everybody labels him like a tattoo walking around. But that's what we think of Matt Ryan. And so we're wishing him all the luck with CBS, any other current free agency option that might exist. But when I really read this, the only thing I thought of is Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady, are you doing this Fox deal? When's the news? I know Tom Brady said that he's not starting until 2024. And he said that's when that's the biggest bet that needs to be at FanDuel Sportsbook. Will Brady do anything with Fox for that bajillion-dollar deal? Minority stake in the Raiders?
I feel like it's not going to end up happening.
We'll see.
But you bring up it is a good point on Matt Ryan, because all the other stuff that gets brought up with him, it's important to put that in context. Like he had a pretty incredible career. All things told. Obviously, if he had that Super Bowl ring, I think we'd be looking at it in another light. But still,
We're
it's a pretty
fans.
fantastic career that he was able to put together.
He's a legendary Red Stallion. That's what we can say. He is a legendary Red Stallion. And I love when you bring up a point in the morning meeting and then I say it and then you say, that's a great point you brought up there, Kay. It's like, it's the funniest thing you do. You'll be like, Kay, say this one thing about this. And you'll be like, that's a really well said by you, Kay. Great job. Listen, we don't know what will happen with Matt Ryan. We don't know what will happen with Tom Brady. Those are just some of the questions that are permeating the NFL landscape. Thank you, Hamilton. We'll get into some more unanswered questions right now. Today, the NFC West is up. We mentioned the Niners. Let's do it. There's the clear favorites. If you take a look over at FanDuel Sportsbook, the Seahawks right there. Rams should be more of a factor this year if they can stay healthy. They're getting plus 650. And then there are the Cardinals, who have the longest odds to win the division of any team in the league right now at plus 2,400. Let's start with the favorites. Let's start with the favorites. Let's start with the favorites, the Niners. Brian can't do it all alone. Oh, that was pretty good. Are you playing skee ball with my face? Like, is that what's happening?
I didn't really want to hit you.
You did like an underhand thing.
I'm good at a card.
Listen, it's hard to believe that the Niners haven't won a Super Bowl. Do you guys want to guess when? Since when? 94. They haven't won a Super Bowl since. It's hard to believe because they're so epic and they're always like competitive, and that's they won 5 Super Bowls in a 14-year span and haven't won since 1994. I think that's like when the World Cup was in Chicago and they had the little dog be the mascot of it. I was like 5 years old. All right, the question I have isn't going to be who's healthy and starting under center between Brock Purdy and Trey Lance and Sam Darnold and maybe Matt Ryan eventually. Who knows? My question for the Niners is, how much does that actually matter? Okay? I'm not one of those people who thinks that Shanahan can start anybody at quarterback and win. A lot of people say that. I think it's cheap. I think it's a little bit lazy. We've seen plenty of examples that just isn't the case. Nick Mullins, 5-11 as a Niners starter. C.J. Beathard, 2-10 as a starter. So I hate that argument because I just disproved it in 20 seconds. Stop tweeting it. Stop saying it. The Niners don't have, though, just anyone in their quarterback room this year. I really do think they have 3 good options with a lot of talent and a lot of upside. Whether it's Brock Purdy, who showed this mastery of the offense when he won all 8 games, he was able to finish out healthy. Clearly, he's the preferred choice for this coaching staff right now if all goes right with his elbow injury. And that seems to be on track. He's doing something with towels, throwing towels, whatever that is. Sure, it sounds great to me. Let's keep that juju going. And then Trey Lance, I think we all agree, he's got the highest ceiling of this group as far as arm strength, athleticism, physical traits, gifts. We haven't seen the sample size yet, though. Can he stay healthy on the field? Can we fully have faith in him? We don't quite know what he's capable of, so there's an unknown factor there. Or Sam Darnold. Everybody thinks they know. They know we've got a big track record. Listen, if he has to fill in at some point, we saw him finish the year 4-2 in Carolina and show signs of turning a corner. And sort of realizing some of the potential that he's had his entire life. When I've heard of a high schooler football boy's name, you know that he's got talent, okay? Like, I was hearing that from when I started liking the NFL about this Sam Darnold wonder child. It hasn't panned off. There's a gaseness to it that I think needs to be factored in. There's a lot of things that need to be factored in, so I think he could even pan out and give a little bit under the stewardship of a Kyle Shanahan. So the Niners, they've got the most loaded roster in the league, obviously, and they should be able to sustain success with any of these 3 guys. And instead of us all fighting and arguing and twittering about it, let the thing play out, okay? This isn't an if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none situation, with all due respect to John Madden. This is a unique scenario, and you legitimately have 3 pretty good options, and it could be a heck of a lot worse. I understand the frustration with how painfully close this team has come over the last 4 years, and I understand the chaotic, toxic Twitter world that is the Niners, which I'm attracted to, oddly, because that's what I thrive in, toxicity. But put some trust in the process and what's been proven to be one of the most competent regimes in the entire league. Stop fighting each other on Twitter about this and let it play out. Go take 5. Make some Kool-Aid, kick back and relax. Okay, next up, Kool-Aid? Where did that come from? I haven't thought about Kool-Aid in years. Okay, hold on. I need a sip of coffee. I think I have allergies. Is that a California?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ew.
Yeah,
I'm not happy about that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
tree
it's
pollen.
scratchy? Like my throat is scratchy? Ugh. Okay. Next up, let's talk Seahawks.
What's the question?
That
was a good throw.
We need Marissa. There's not enough energy coming from you two on this.
What's the question?
Oh my God!
Question?
Richard is yelling at me. I don't know if I can handle going to a game in Seattle because that mascot has been known to go rogue, and this is my worst nightmare. But my question for this, listen, this is what I think of when I think of the Seahawks. My biggest question is, could I survive going to a game there with this possible? This is terrifying. My real question for the Seahawks, hey, is your young defense ready to make a leap? Let's go. Geno Smith, he had this Hawks offense ranked in the top 10 last year. They were climbing on everybody's head and scratching their hair off, okay? It should only be better now in 2023. Seattle has a great young offensive line. They added one of our show favorites, Jackson Smith and Jigba, to that loaded receiving core, and second-round pick Zach Charbonnet to their backfield with Kenny Walker, who looked like he was going to run away with the Offensive Rookie of the Year before all the injuries started taking hold. I mean, they are loaded on offense, no questions, but this defense has its issues. They rank in the bottom 10 last year in almost every category. This is not what I think of the Seahawks. Come on. They do have a talented young core. They've got 5th overall pick. Another guy we love, Devin Witherspoon, joining second-year standouts Tariq Woolen, friend of the program, and Kobe Bryant in the secondary. And maybe the return of Bobby Wagner sparks them, brings in veteran leadership, gets this unit back to where it needs to be. That's what we're hoping if you're a Seahawks fan, or if you just want some, I don't know, drama in the NFC West, which kind of went NFC wuss or something like lately. Like, I don't know, it's like not that as exciting as we thought it would be. At least last year, the drop sort of was wild with what it was a couple of years ago when you couldn't like throw a dart and not hit all pros in a tough, tight, competitive situation. Speaking of Wagner, 10 years in Seattle. When he was there, their defense ranked second in total defense, scoring defense, and takeaways. And before you say what everyone says, which is why I love Bobby Wagner, and I'm always standing for him because it's all about the Legion of Boom and great, and I know that. They were a huge part of this, very significant, but they spanned less than half of Wagner's time with the team, okay? The Legion of Boom did not have a 10-year stretch in Seattle. Though it may have felt that way, not true. Wagner's impact, by the way, goes beyond the ability to make plays. He's all up here. He's cerebral, he's a leader. I think he can be the glue to get this team back on track, on field, off the field. One of my favorite players, always has been. Pete Carroll said he's already to make such a positive impact this offseason and that his presence has given everyone a bit of a lift. So with the way this Seahawks offense should look, if this defense can go back to being a top 10 unit, I'm going to say Seattle. This is no question. No question for me, guys. Seattle will be back in the playoffs, and there is a real chance that they will push the Niners in the division, which is so fun with Geno Smith. You guys are living for it. It's so fun. Okay, let's go to the Rams. Shout out to Stan Kroenke.
Okay, I have a question. What's the question?
Come on, get to it. Let's
You don't want to hear
ram
about
it
Stan
here.
Kroenke's Nuggets? I'm so invested. His son, Josh Kroenke, who I used to serve well, he used to come into Willie's Pub and Pool on game days and order McCormick's vodka and tonics. And I'd be like, you could spring for the,
Well,
you
what's the
could
question?
maybe get an absolute up
All
in
right,
there.
enough. What's
You
the
could do,
question?
okay, fine.
Yeah.
But they're in the Western Conference Finals, you guys. I'm excited. Okay, the Rams. For the Rams, my question is the same question I had last year. Is Matthew Stafford okay? Sean McVay said this weekend that he looks like a, quote, human jugs machine. I don't know what that means. Just with I guess the way he's firing the ball, right? I have concerns. Do you have concerns? It's my question. Last season, there were multiple concussions, a spinal cord bruise that eventually shut down his season after 9 starts. Don't forget, even before that, he didn't feel like, just watching him, didn't feel like the same guy after he had the offseason elbow surgery last summer. We love Matthew Stafford, right? What a great story. Gets a Super Bowl with the Rams after all those years in the NFC North. Now, among the 32 quarterbacks that made at least 9 starts, Stafford ranked 27th in touchdown-to-interception ratio and winning percentage, while ranking 22nd in passer rating as well. So with the limited cap space and draft capital, LA wasn't able to do much to improve the offensive line that really struggled to protect him last year. That's a little like, F them picks, well, I wish I could invest in an offensive line. Can't do it right now. So he'll have Cooper Kupp back, but the talent around him has taken hits across the board. Not to mention what's happened on the other side of the ball. No more Jalen Ramsey, a defense that's right now projected to start 6 players who were taken in the 6th round or later over the last 6 seasons. So it's a little woofy. If Stafford can somehow get back to his usual self, and maybe he can, he gives the Rams a chance to compete for a playoff spot, or at least be in the mix in the NFC. But if the injuries have taken a toll on him, which is only natural, it could be another long year in LA. So that's just the question. It's a health question that kind of sucks. Is Matthew Stafford okay? The Rams, of course, I think it's like they won their ring. They bet the house. They won, and now they're dealing with that, and they wouldn't trade that for anything. So it's almost like it's not a criticism of them and what they did. It all worked, but now this is the lesson. This is what follows that. How can they maybe make that a shorter turnaround than a longer one? Will be impressive to watch, and I believe they can do it. Okay, and finally, the Cardinals.
What's the question?
Yeah, come on, get to it, lady.
There's a lot going on in Phoenix. Hey, they fired. What do you have to get to the finals to keep your job? What is this?
In the NBA?
Listen,
Yeah, in the NBA.
Monty Williams loses his gig this weekend. I didn't love that. Okay, my question for the Cardinals is, God, there's so many. Shoot, God, there's so many for these Cardinals. How about this one? Just, it's vague. What is the plan? That's the question. What is the plan here? Jonathan Gannon, there's a question mark. What's Jonathan Gannon going to be like? He said this weekend Kyler Murray is still, quote, a long way away from taking the field after suffering an ACL injury last season. Ian Rappaport reported earlier this offseason that he could miss half the season. DeAndre Hopkins has not been traded yet, and new GM Monty is playing the if he's a Cardinal right now card, which still leaves the door open to anything. Well, if he's a Cardinal, like what? Buda Baker, check out his Instagram workouts, people. He's in the lab, trying his best. He is still on the team following his trade request as well, and it sounds like there's been very little progress towards an extension there. And when there's not progress in anything, insecurity breeds. That's what I've learned about me this past year. Like, when there's not progress and you're not getting better every day or you're not seeing signs of it, you get insecure, and that harbors resentment, contempt. Things start to live there. That's not a good place to be. And, according to the GM, I love that he's still in the building, that he hasn't been traded. I do think he's the cornerstone Arizona can build around. I don't know that there are many national shows focusing on Buda Baker and how they need to extend him like ours was, but it's because I fell in love with him taking shots at 818 tequila at the Super Bowl. And we'll see how it shakes out. We wish Buda the best because he deserves it. And this is an organization still in the middle of a transition, and I think they have to decide what they want to be this season. Do you sell off pieces like D-Hop and punt on the year knowing Kyler has a long way to go, or do you do everything you can to try to stay competitive with Colt McCoy? A few weeks ago, I was thinking it might be smart to start selling, right? After the way that Austin Fort handled the draft, though, I am not so sure. Let's take a look at Monty here. Between trading down the number 3 overall with Houston and making the deal with the Titans so that they could grab Will Levis, Monty already racked up 6 picks in the first 3 rounds next year. Okay. So there's a good chance that both their first rounder and the Texans pick end up being in the top 10 again as well. So the Cardinals are going to have the opportunity to add a lot of talent relatively quickly. This year is going to be tough. Okay? It's going to be tough. We're all just going to brace for it and deal with it together. But with the way that they've set up their draft for the next season, if Arizona can somehow rework their D-Hop deal and reduce the cap hit, give Buda the extension, and let Kyler take time to get healthy, this team could be in the playoff hunt in 2024. So players like Nuke, Buda, they do not come around easily. Use this year to evaluate your young players. Build around those stars. Get some new pieces, which you have, and you can turn this around in a hurry. We'll see how Monty's plan unfolds. We still don't know for sure what he'll do, but I think there's a clear path to, developing if he can work things out with his stars. You've got cornerstones there. Make it happen, Cap'n. All right. Oh, God, I can't believe I said that. I got to go. Okay, coming up. Oh, my gosh, the happiest man in all of Southern Florida. Yeah, Darius Butler joins us. I don't know. I wanted Knicks Lakers. Boo. Is this our favorite guest? I think so. And he's on his Travis Kelce stuff right now. Just traveling, living his best life. A former NFL cornerback, host of the Man to Man podcast. He's killing it. He's always on McAfee and by the way, he's the #1 fan of the Florida Panthers and Miami Heat. Darius Butler and Jimmy Butler.
Oh, yeah. Hey, huge hockey guy this time of year. Shout out to my Heat. Hemi Butler, my fake cousin. Shout out Big Face Coffee. Tried it last week at Miami Grand Prix. Oh. Hey, it's great right now to be in South Florida sports fan, Kay.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to Final Four, Miami, FAU, they got in it out of nowhere. Now we got my Heat, we got the Panthers. So I'm real bullish on my Marlins and my Dolphins coming up this football season. A lot to talk about here.
I love it. Are you tired, though? Because last weekend you were rubbing elbows with Jay Leno and every celebrity at the Grand Prix in Miami. And this week you're celebrating the Miami Heat series in style over here. Let's take a look.
It don't matter who. He is sick. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear my sister? Like, yes, yes. That's the type of energy we got down here right now, Kay. We're celebrating my little brother's birthday.
Aww.
Shout out to Real. He's 35, so we're celebrating him with some family and friends. And just enjoying Miami. You know, it's not too many places in the country where you can just do that anytime you want. So I'm enjoying my off season right now, Kay. I'm enjoying my off season a lot.
I feel like me making
Off-season.
you take shots at Super Bowl at 8 in the morning really prepared you for this moment that South Florida's having.
Hey, that kicked it off.
Yeah.
I knew the vibes were high from that. When we opened up, we did a cold open of that show doing push-ups and taking shots at 9 in the morning, local time. You set my off-season off in the right direction, so I appreciate you, Kay.
I appreciate you, and I'm living for your life right now. It's amazing. It's very Travis Kelce. I'm really enjoying it. Your heart's clearly with the Heat. You pretend you're cousins with Jimmy Butler. I get it. I do the same thing with Devontae Adams. What happens when you open the FanDuel app? Do you think they can take down the Celtics seriously?
I mean, I just found out today on my podcast this morning, Man to Man Pod, shout out, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. But I found out today we are still, right now, with 4 teams left, we are plus 1,400 to win it all. So clearly the books have no faith in us. But, you know, having Jimmy Butler and, look, Coach Spo, too. Eric Spoelstra is not being talked about enough. The great job he's done at the coaching position. We got, I believe I heard 9 undrafted players on the NBA roster is absolutely unheard of, period, but especially at this point in the season.
I love it.
So damn right I got faith in my Heat. Had no worries about the Knicks, zero concerns about the Knicks, little concerned about the Bucks in round 1. But you saw from that boat, that was before the Sixers and the Celtics ever played at Game 7. I wasn't worried about either one of those teams. We got some revenge, a little bit. It's hard to have bad blood in today's NBA, but a little bad blood here with the Celtics. I think 3 of the last 4 years we faced off in the Eastern Conference Finals. So me and Boston Connor will have a lot to talk about these next couple weeks. So it should be fun.
I watched literally I had no reason. I had no parlay. I watched Game 6 between the Warriors and the Lakers. And I was sad to see Steph and all them. I was sad. And Poole, my boy Poole, my guy, it all kind of fell apart for them. How do the Nuggets match up? Because I think the Nuggets are they a better team? I think they're the better team, right? How do they match up?
I would say they're the better team, you know, because they've been playing together, obviously, for some years now. This is a bubble rematch, I believe, and that team is a lot of the core pieces are the same. The Lakers, outside of AD and LeBron, that team is completely different. I think from this year on, that Los Angeles Lakers team has almost been 2 or 3 different teams. But Darvin Ham, in his first year as a coaching job, he's done an unbelievable job. And I feel like LeBron's kind of pacing himself almost throughout these playoffs. Obviously been in year 20. It's about AD. Can AD be consistent? Can AD outside of, can he do it more than 2 games in a series? The Lakers would be tough to beat. But Joker, you watch Joker's play, it's not high flying. It's not a bunch of step back 3-pointers, but he always makes the right play. He's a bully in the paint. He always makes the right pass. So it's a special team, and they're 1 seed for a reason. I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to be the X factor for them. Can he be a great third option on home and on the road floor for them throughout the series? And I think the Nuggets have a chance of winning.
I was over at FanDuel Sportsbook because my parlays don't always work out great. You put up great parlays. Everybody follow Darius and Man to Man podcast and everything he does on McAfee because he puts out great ones. I won 1 boost and then I lost this other one because I did this combo custom thing. I got cute with it. But I was looking, there's some really clever stuff on there. You can go on and just bet on who makes the first bucket. That's kind of hard because those odds are really tough. But you can say first to 10. You can do like just a first quarter bet. You can get real niche with it. So I think I'm going to do that as my next one. And maybe I'll go on like Instagram Live and watch it with everybody. But I think I'm going to do that this week, where it's like something that's a couple minutes in the first quarter, and then I can like be out of my misery or celebrate early.
Yeah, one of my favorites is like the manner in which the first bucket will be scored. And like obviously the odds are crazy.
Yeah.
And I would suggest never ever, and not even just talking to you, but anyone, don't ever put that on a parlay, like a first bucket or a first score, because you don't want your parlay ruined. It's 15 seconds into a game.
But
there's a lot of things you can do. I mean, it's fun for like a one-off.
Yeah.
You know, you put, a couple bucks, maybe 50 cents on the ticket and say, hey, the first bucket is going to be a 3 from Anthony Davis or something like that. But to put that on a parlay, don't do it. And when you put these parlays together, they all look so great. Every time. I don't care if it's 4 legs or 14. It's like, damn right this is going to happen. It's tough. It's tough gambling. Don't bet your rent money. Don't bet your kids' lunch money. Just have fun with it, man. But these NBA playoffs have been excellent so far to not only watch, but to bet on as well.
I'm going to do a first quarter bet this week. Be on the lookout for that. And I'll hop on my Instagram Live and we can all be miserable or happy together. That's what we're going to do. I'm not going to boost it. I'm not going to like get cute with it. I don't want to send it to them so they make me a fan. I just want to have fun and let's do the first quarter on one of these games. I just looked up how do you pronounce just the word Butler in German?
Butler.
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 That's how you say Butler. Darius Butler. Butler.
That sounds familiar.
I could.
Butler.
Are we going to Germany? What's up?
That's the plan right now. I'm trying to piece it together. Obviously, that's right in the middle of the football season.
Yeah.
And, I expect to have a lot going on this football season. But that's literally my birthplace. I was born in Frankfurt, Germany on an army base, military brat. The game is actually on my sister's birthday, November 12th. Ooh. And then it's it's the one team that drafted me, that started my NFL journey with the New England Patriots. And then where my NFL journey ended and where I kind of made a home with the Indianapolis Colts. So it's almost like I have to go. I always wanted to go back to Germany with my parents as an adult. Aww. So this is kind of seems like the perfect thing. So I'll see if I can definitely make it happen, man.
You have to make it
happen.
Shout out
to the NFL continuing to go bring our great game global. But I have to make it happen, Kay. So you know what? I'm just putting it. I'm a big manifest and put it in. I'm going to be in Frankfurt, Germany, November 12th with this Patriots Colts game.
It has to happen, and I think you should get with Henry Hodgson. I'm sure you can. He runs the NFL International. You would be the perfect alumni ambassador sort of person. We need to get your sponsorship, Hodgson. He's incredible.
Hodgson.
Yeah. And then,
perfect.
And then you got McAfee, all that. You need to be the thing in Germany. There's so many connections. It's absolutely bananas to me. I did look ahead at the Colts schedule. So that Germany game where you were born takes place week 10. But then I kind of brought this up and maybe it's cute, but I want your thoughts on it. Because I know you and I talked about Anthony Richardson and what should happen with him when he should start with the Colts. But I looked at this potential Will Levis revenge scorched earth tour. This is what I mean. If he gets on the field, and I know Tannehill's expected to start this season, but if he gets on the field at some point, there's a point at the end of the season, the last third of it, where he could face all 3 quarterbacks and teams drafted ahead of him in the span of 4 games, okay? Late in the season, okay? He's looked good in his first mini camp, so we got some footage. Looks pretty great. Do you think we'll see Levis starting for the Titans by then? It's like week... Go ahead.
He's looking good. Come on, it's t-shirts and shorts, Kay. It's May right now, okay? This is hockey time. This is Florida Panthers time. I'm not overreacting to anything I'm seeing right now. But with Will Levis, he's a guy that I'm going to pay very, very close attention to everything in the offseason. So I guess you're right in getting excited with this. But the OTAs, the preseason, the training camp, then what we actually get to see with the preseason games. And I think if he continues to get better throughout each one of those phases, it'll be a point in the time, maybe early on in this season after the first 4 or 5 games, where if Tannehill is the start out of gate and he wins this job in training camp, where if things aren't going great, maybe they do go to the rookie since they have him under contract for the next 4 years. And he does have the tools, right? Yeah. That's why you draft guys. It's half of what they do production-wise in college, and then what can this guy be? And if you look at him, he has a strong arm. He obviously looks great getting off of the bus for the team. He has a compact throwing motion, which is important in the NFL because in the NFL, it's not like college. You're going to be throwing from a lot of dirty pockets. Now, can he be consistently accurate? And can he make plays when the play break down? Can he make it, outside of the pocket, making throws down the field? So we'll keep a close eye on Will Levis in the situation in Tennessee. But I anticipate Ryan Tannehill starting and winning the job in training camp. But that would be fun for the NFL if we do get Will Levis against those guys that were drafted ahead of him. And I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him just like everyone else, in the league. It's tough. It's tough to make that transition.
AFC South, a lot of those new quarterbacks. I just can't see that if it's not going well with Tannehill, they can't pick a quarterback for the third year in a row. I've been saying that all along. They can't do that. So they got to do everything, throw the sink at their schedule. And if it's Will Levis, then they have to put him out there. Since we do have the schedule, there's, let's talk about the other quarterbacks. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson, we talked about. Which one of those do you think is set up to have the most successful season?
It may be a homer pick, but Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, you look at the coaching situation first and foremost with Shane Steichen, who obviously has experience with the big – they got Herbert and Jalen Hurts, obviously, last year, what he did in Philly. And then the offensive line, we got a ton of money invested in the offensive line. Can they show up and play up to where they're getting paid? And then Jonathan Taylor coming back, a guy who's never really been hurt throughout his career, was banged up and slowed down last year. And if we remember the year before, I know you're big in fantasy, he was damn near the #1 overall pick when it came to that. So I think we get a healthy JT back. Josh Downs, I love that draft pick for him. He'll be a great weapon for Richardson early. You got the big guys outside with Pierce and Pittman, big tight ends as well. So I think Richardson is in the best spot to perform good early. Maybe that's just my heart talking, but I think my head is in there.
Well, everyone was saying he's the one that should be sitting back behind someone as long as he can, but now he might just be thrown out into the fire. But that's, who knows with the Colts. Damn right, throw him out into the fire. I want to ask you about what you thought about Bijan wearing Michael Vick's number 7.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that happened. Kind of surprised that 7 isn't, kind of putting on the back end, maybe not retired yet. That would be surprising. But, Bijan Robinson, just talent-wise, if you just look at this past draft that just happened, if this was the NFL 10, 15 years ago, I think Robinson would have been the first overall pick based on just his skill set and his talent. Yeah. Not only as a runner, but what he can do outside the backfield catching the ball. So I'm excited to watch him play. I know a lot of people didn't love their pick. They don't love the running backs going high. Same thing with Gibbs in Detroit. But I think you draft good football players when you can. And I think that was a great, valuable pick. The nerds may not say so, but from a guy who's had to line up and tackle and game plan against guys like that, I think Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs can completely change those offenses that they were drafted.
Well, they're both taking snaps. They're both taking snaps at receiver. So I just need from
I didn't know that.
They did. So they had their rookie camps, their mini camps, both Gibbs and Robinson taking snaps at receiver. So teams get killed for drafting running backs highly at all. But if they're doubling as receivers, do you think it should change how we're evaluating these guys? Because running backs are more valuable this way.
Yeah, it should. I think, it's like when quarterbacks used to get knocked for being able to run. And now once you see that, okay, now most people don't want to draft a quarterback that can't run. It's just something else that you have to game plan and prepare for. Like when you're playing against the 49ers, for example, not knowing where Deebo Samuel or Christian McCaffrey is going to line up just based off what they can do running the ball or lining up and creating mismatches in the passing game. So if you have the talent to be able to do it, why not put that guy out there in different positions, maybe get him 15, 20 carries a game? Or if the game's a 2-score game, you can still never take him off the field because of how they impact the passing game. So once again, I'm a believer in you draft good players where you can. Was a big fan of Detroit's draft. A lot of people hated the Gibbs pick and they hated the Jack Campbell pick. But if those guys end up being pillars on both sides of the ball for the next 6, 7, 8 years, nobody's gonna look back and say, hey, you drafted that position too high in the 2023 draft. So you draft good football players when and where you can, in my opinion.
Love it. Now we had a corner on last week that made waves with what he was saying in Gardner Johnson. We're not going to go back to that, though. We're going to let that go. But I can't let you go without asking you a
Gardner
question.
Johnson, by the way.
I loved him. I literally want him to come on with you next year and just have you guys just talk to each other because it would be so fun. He's so fun. And we wish him all the best in Detroit, of course. He's writing himself a new page then, a new chapter. But I want to ask you about some of these corners because we can't, it's not a segment with Darius Butler. I know you were in the Heat hat, but
Let's
you
do
are
it.
DB, the mayor. So which cornerback matchups? I know it's early. What are you sort of what are you getting, geeked out for? What are you most excited for? And I know you want to talk about the wide receivers too.
Hey, once again, it's a great time to be a fan in South Florida. Not only hockey, basketball, but football season as well. We went out and got one of the best corners in the league, one of the best corners ever to play this game, actually, a future Hall of Famer with Jalen Ramsey, bringing him down to Miami and pairing him up with X-Men, Xavier Howard, on the other side. So I can't wait to see those two corners match up against these other receivers in the, these other receivers and quarterbacks in the division. You look at these quarterbacks in the division, A-Rod, you obviously got Tua, who's on the same team, but Josh Allen, you got Mac Jones, still got to mention him. He's a quarterback. But watching these corners match up with these different receivers, Garrett Wilson. And then on the other side of the ball for us, the Dolphins, once again, sorry to make this such a South Florida show, we got the best wide receiver room in the league as well, in my opinion, with Tyreek Hill
The best?
and Jalen Waddle. The best. And now we got to, it's a big if. And if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk. But if we can keep, look at that room, man. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson, Braxton Berrios, who don't sleep on him. He was a dog. I'm surprised New York even let him go.
TikTok is not sleeping on Braxton Berrios. I'll tell you that much. TikTok is not.
I don't follow TikTok, but Chosen Anderson as well, who's obviously, look how fast that, I'm a big F1 guy. That's a fast-ass relay team right there for us. Now it's going to be a big if we can keep Tua healthy. I'm going to just put the positive energy out there and say, because everybody has that question mark about Tua. And I'm going to just say right now, Tua's going to come out and start every game this season and lead us on a nice playoff run.
Ooh.
But I love what we have right now. We went out and signed Isaiah Wynn, I believe, former first-round pick, to help shore up that offensive line as well. So I love what we have going on in Miami. But you look at that whole division, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, another great cornerback tandem. Christian Gonzalez is my favorite corner in this draft. He gets drafted to the New England Patriots to match up with Jack Jones. So it's a lot of good secondaries and quarterbacks and wide receiver matchup just in that AFC East division. So I'll keep a close eye on that all year long.
I'm trying to think who rivals them in the best wide receiver group. My head's not even.
Yeah, the Bengals.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Bengals,
Maybe Odell going to. That isn't. They got to all stay healthy down there with the Ravens. We got to think Justin Jefferson. Yeah. They lose Thielen.
Say Flowers Young.
All right.
But you drafted Addison. You drafted Addison in the first round.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Eagles, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Watkins.
Okay.
Got all the Batmans across the board.
We'll
so
see. Hey, Twitter.
Rooms.
Hey, Twitter. Who is the best
Seattle.
wide receiver room right now? Because you came out. I didn't even want. You wanted to say that. You wanted it out there. We get it. We're all South Florida. We love you, Darius Butler. I can't believe you were ready to do a podcast this morning. You're absolutely insane. And Butler is on his way to Germany. I botched that. You're the best. Good luck to the Heat and the Panthers. Next time you and I are going to talk about, what is it, shift changes? What is it? Shift changes with the hockey? Power plays. Sure. Great. We got Asher Grodman next. Yeah! Second leg of horse racing's Big 3 is here. FanDuel is the best place to bet the Preakness because right now all customers get a no-sweat Preakness bet up to $20. What a funny word, Preakness. Preakness. That's right, you can get up to $20 back if your Preakness bet doesn't win. So what are you waiting for? Bet up racing on America's #1 sportsbook. Download the app and get your no-sweat bet in for the Preakness.
It takes a lot of ideas to come up with a whole season of football, so we're constantly taking pitches from the whole organization.
Family show, man.
But at the end of the day, the NFL is a writer's medium. It's always the writers who discover that one great idea that cracks the whole season open. We, passionate professionals with pencils, who truly carry the proverbial ball to the creative end zone and kick it through the inspirational uprights.
Hey, I actually wrote a season script on my own, and Shad loves it. So I guess you guys are all fired. Thanks.
Trevor with the acting chops, and OK Jags with 3 primetime games. Hi-oh, our next guest stars in the critically acclaimed CBS series Ghosts. He's also the biggest Jacksonville Jags fan in all of Hollywood. Please welcome Asher Grodman. This is your baby, that schedule release video, Asher.
That's right.
That's right. I was looking at it. I was like, oh, my guys.
I mean, acting chops, Trevor Lawrence. Tell me all about this. You not only wrote and directed it, but you also somehow had to pitch this to them and get them to be on board with your "this season is scripted" idea.
Yeah, so they came to me in about, I think, early March and saying, we have this idea of doing the scripted thing, and maybe it's all about auditions for the 2023 season. And I thought, I think that's half there. I didn't think auditions would work, and it doesn't because the Cowboys tried it and it didn't work. But I thought the fun thing would be bring audiences into the Jacksonville Jaguars writer's room. And if it is true that the NFL is scripted, what is also true? That means that these college athletes are getting to the NFL and suddenly having to learn how to pretend to play football. And it was an opportunity. I've gotten to know the team over the last year, and I know how cool these personalities are. I wanted fans to kind of meet these guys as people beyond just their uniforms and be able to root for them as people because they're such great guys.
Did you have trouble with that because you're such a fan and now you're hanging out with these guys? And like, was that fun for you? Like, because I'm sure you look at them in a different way.
It's so much fun. Like my inner 8-year-old is like bursting at the seams. He's overwhelmed. I mean, to be fair, like I get more like for me, like going back and seeing Fred Taylor, like that really gets me going. But yeah, these guys are amazing. And like Tony Baselli has become a friend of mine. So like, yeah, I'm living my 8-year-old's dream.
Are you like, you're in a fantasy league with Tony Baselli?
That would be fun. I don't know. Does he play fantasy? I got to see if he plays fantasy.
I'm sure you do. And we're excited about the Jags. Man, there's so much to talk about here. But you have not only experience in acting, you actually teach acting at Hunter College in New York. I love that. Who, in your opinion, really has what it takes? Like, who's the star on this Jags team?
Both Zay Jones and Tyson Campbell have expressed interest in getting into acting, and they could both do it. They're fantastic. The entire Zay Jones scene was improvised.
Whoa!
So that's just him up there playing with me. All I gave him was, like, the script is very detailed, but like everything we did in the flex field, I didn't know who we were going to get because we were just grabbing people after practice. But the one thing I heard about Zay is he's a very thoughtful guy. And I was like, okay, I had this bit about one of the players coming to me and being like, what's my motivation in this scene? And all I told him was, I think we should have an existential crisis. And the rest, we just improvised together and found. So Zay and Tyson are superstars in the making.
You didn't mention the superstar Trevor Lawrence. Why?
That's no. Well, I will say I've met Trevor. Trevor's awesome. And knowing Trevor, I was able to kind of write for him. And so the joke with Trevor is he's like so in control. The fun is kind of beating up on him over the course of an episode and then having him pull the rug out from underneath me. So like the people I knew who to write for, like the Jaguars senior writer is talking about nap jokes all the time. So I was like, all right, I'll give him a joke about taking a nap. But the guys I hadn't met were the ones who, surprised me the most because I had no context. Doug Peterson, incredible. So much fun because he showed up with so much of him and like, I don't know this world. I don't know how to act. So I was like, great, just do that. Just don't know. And I will switch the words around to make you an acting expert who doesn't know about football.
This is so cool. Your two worlds merging, your inner 8-year-old is a perfect way to put it. You're a big Jags fan. I understand you go to like all the home games. You're there. Have you been in the pool?
I have not been in the pool.
What are we doing?
And I wanted to do a shot from the pool where I just did it without even referencing it. But we only had like 2 days to shoot this. I think I had 30 minutes total with Trevor. I had 90 minutes total with all the skills guys. So we were on a tight schedule. But next time maybe. But yes, I'm down there a lot. We shoot our show in Montreal, and there's no direct flight to Jacksonville, so it's usually a bit of an adventure. But I try to make it when I can, because how could you not?
Mr. Khan, send the old PJ over to get our boy and get him down there to these games. Grodman needs to be in Jacksonville. Listen, you're kind of not a good luck charm, but you nailed it. You made some bold predictions, as my producers told me over the weekend last year. After starting the year 3-7, they beat the Ravens, and you said after that game they'd win the crown of the AFC South, and they end up going, 5-1 to finish it, and they did just that. So any predictions for this year, my man?
Oh, I mean, we're going to win the division for sure. Exactly where we're going to fall, there's a lot of, it's May. So I'll come in with something later. I did make that prediction to your former colleague, Mr. Nate Burleson.
Hey.
So it's on camera. There's evidence. We're going to win the division. I am sure we will be in the divisional round again. I believe we will be getting past that. I don't buy this Dolphins Michigas that your previous guest is selling, but I think we're going to be there deep into this, and CBS is hosting the Super Bowl, so my worlds could merge very nicely.
You and Nate Burleson can go hang out and do that. You and him and not Trevor Lawrence, because he'll be busy playing in a Super Bowl potentially. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. They've got an early game, I think, against the Chiefs. They got to take care of business, and really week two, they got to stamp their "we're here to do the NFL." Quickly, the most uncomfortable I've ever been on my couch watching television was the Bore on the Floor episode of Succession. Literally the most uncomfortable viewing experience in my life. You're famously in the episode. Talk me through. We have a minute left in show. Give me that experience and just who you think is going to take Succession by the end of it.
Oh my God, those are two different questions. Well, first of all, that cast is amazing, and everyone kind of has a very different process.
Yeah.
So to just be there, where my entire role as, can I say my character's name?
Yes.
You'll believe it. My role as Rat Sam was really just to exist.
Whoops.
So it's fun to kind of be there in that world and see how Brian works versus how Kieran works versus how Jeremy works. There's such a fantastic group that all brings different energies together.
It's like Brian versus Jeremy and their like processes, it sounds like.
That moment when Brian kind of leans over Jeremy at table, puts his arms around him and starts like interrogating everyone at the table was such a power move. It was so wonderful. And yes, watching Matthew McFadden, who's lovely, and all those guys grovel on the floor as they got their little piggies thrown was a surreal experience, and one that I'm very glad to be part
we gotta
of.
go. Asher, quickly, who wins Succession?
Who wins? I think Shiv.
Yeah! I'd love to see it.
I think so.
Asher Grodman, we love you. We love the Jags. Make sure you check out Ghosts on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. Please come back and hang out with us.
Please have me. I'm a huge fan.
Didn't think I'd hear the F word on the show today. Ooh, we'll do better tomorrow, guys.